Hey there. We are on day 20 of our Through the New Testament in 1 Year. And today, according to our spreadsheet, we're doing Matthew 16, Mark 8, and Luke 9. Part of the middle of Luke 9. Okay, so yesterday we read about the Canaanite woman and the feeding of the 4,000. We're going to read about that again today and some other stuff. So Matthew 16 is first. All right, here we go. The Pharisees and Sadducees demand signs. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees came, and to test him, they asked him to show them a sign from heaven. He answered them, "When it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah." So he left them and departed. Now the sign of Jonah is, Jonah was in the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. Then he was spit back out onto land, right? Did you know that story was like Jesus? The leaven of the Pharisees. When the disciples reached the other side, they had forgotten to bring any bread. And Jesus said to them, "Watch and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." And they began discussing it among themselves, saying, "We brought no bread." But Jesus, aware of this, said, "Oh, you have little faith, why are you discussing amongst yourselves the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive? Do you not remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000, and how many baskets you gathered, or the 7 loaves for the 4,000, and how many baskets you gathered? How is it that you fail to understand that I do not speak about bread? Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the yeast, the poison that gets in, right? Leaven and yeast is a bacteria, right, that spreads throughout the entire loaf, right? Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of the bread, but the teaching of the Pharisees and Sadducees, right? Poison, bacteria. Peter confesses Jesus as the Christ. Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Right? "And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." "I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." And he strictly charged his disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. Not yet, right? Jesus foretells his death and resurrection. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and be killed, and on the 3rd day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord. That shall never happen to you." But he turned to Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me." Stumbling block, right? "For you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but the things of man," right? Now he just, right, up here told him, "Yeah, to you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Okay? And in the very next paragraph, right, Peter rebuked him. And he said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance," or a stumbling block, "to me. For you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but the things of man." Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly I say to you, There are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So according to this, some of those are still alive today, right? Either that or Jesus has already come, and we know he hasn't. Right? Maybe John's still alive. Right? He was the last one. Who knows? So now we're reading Mark 8. This is like yesterday. We read about this yesterday in Matthew. So Jesus feeding the 4,000. Okay, kind of stepping back a little bit. In those days, when a great crowd had gathered and they had nothing to eat, he called his disciples to him and said to them, I have compassion on the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days. 3 days and they haven't had anything to eat. Wow. Crazy, huh? And if I send them away hungry to their homes, they will faint on the way, and some of them have come from far away. And his disciples answered him, how can one feed these people with the bread here in this desolate place? And he asked them, how many loaves do you have? And they said, 7. And he directed the crowd to sit down on the ground, and he took the 7 loaves, and having given thanks, he broke them and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. And they set them before the crowd. And they had a few small fish, and having blessed them, he said that these should also be set before them. And they ate and were satisfied, and they took up the broken pieces left over, 7 baskets full. And there were about 4,000 people, and he sent them away. And immediately he got in a boat and his disciples and went to the district of Dalmanutha. Magadan, or Magdala. Magdala, that's where Mary was from, right? The Pharisees demand a sign. Yeah, see, this is kind of putting it together. We just read this in Matthew. The Pharisees came and began to argue with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven to test him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit and said, why does this generation seek a sign? Truly I say to you, no sign will be given to this generation. And he left them, got into the boat again, and went to the other side. Leaven of the Pharisees, here you go again. And they'd forgotten to bring bread, and they only had 1 loaf with them in the boat. And he cautioned them, saying, watch out, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. They began discussing with one another the fact that they had no bread. And Jesus, aware of this, said to them, why are you discussing the fact that you have no bread? Did you not perceive or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember when I broke 5 loaves for the 5,000? And how many baskets full of broken pieces did you take up? They said to him, 12. And the 7 for the 4,000, how many baskets full of broken pieces did you take up? And they said to him, 7. And he said to them, do you not yet understand? Okay? It explains it a little better in Matthew, okay? The leaven of the Pharisees, the poisonous teaching of the Pharisees. Just a few wrong things will poison an entire church, okay? Still going on today. The leaven of the Pharisees. Okay. Jesus heals a blind man at Bethsaida. Bethesda. Then he came to Bethsaida, and some people brought to him a blind man and begged him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the village. And when he had spit on his eyes and laid his hands on him, he said, do you see anything? And he looked up and said, I see people, but they look like trees walking. Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again. He opened his eyes. His sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. And he sent him to his home, saying, do not even enter the village. Here's Peter. Again, I just read it. Let's see what Luke's version says, right? Or Mark's version says. And Jesus went on with his disciples to the villages of Caesarea Philippi. And on the way he asked his disciples, who do people say that I am? And they told him, John the Baptist, others say Elijah, others say one of the prophets. And he asked them, who do you say that I am? Peter answered him, you are the Christ. And he strictly charged them not to tell anyone about him. Okay, and it doesn't say about Peter being the rock of his church, right? That was in Matthew. Right? And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. And he said this plainly, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning and seeing his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, keep behind me, Satan, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man. And calling the crowd to him with his disciples, he said to them, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? And what can a man give in return for his soul? For whoever is ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him will the Son of Man also be ashamed when it comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. Okay? Heavy stuff, right? So we're going to read this one little part here in Luke. Okay, we read it twice already. Okay? Peter confesses Jesus as the Christ. Right? Now it happened that as he was praying alone, the disciples were with him, and he asked them, "Who do the crowd say that I am?" And they answered, "John the Baptist, but others say Elijah, and others say one of the prophets of old has risen." And he said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" And Peter answered, "The Christ of God." And that's it, right? Matthew goes into great detail on a lot of things that the others don't. But Matthew was there, right? And he strictly charged and commanded them to tell this to no one, saying, "The Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed, and on the third day be raised." Right? Take up your cross. And he said to all, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses or forfeits himself? For whoever is ashamed of me and of my words, of him will the Son of Man be ashamed when he comes in his glory and the glory of the Father and of the holy angels. But I tell you truly, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the kingdom of God." There you go. See, and we read that 3 times. Okay. So that's today's. It's kind of fun marking these. Right? Right. Peter says he is Christ. Okay. Just a little note to remind us. Okay, there you go. That's today. So I'll even save that. Okay. Save it. Close it. So maybe that's day 20. Okay. 20 of 92. So there's 72 days left to get through the entire New Testament. And then we'll do some longer studies in some of those, right? That's why I'm making those notes in that spreadsheet so we could go that. And there's a couple that are, like the one a couple days ago where it said, "You must eat my flesh and drink my blood." Okay. Get into that kind of stuff. So there you go. Catch up on the ones you may have missed and give us a like if you think about it. And tomorrow we'll do it again. See you then.